Guys? You remembered we brought tanks, right?
I fart in your general direction!
Woohoo! Woo! Hell yeah!
Welcome back to yet another update for my mod, Dythland, an Empire roster overhaul. By popular vote, you guys wanted tanks. And so from the workshops of Augsburg comes a behemoth built for destruction. One model, 3 variants, maximum armor and firepower. Now originally this was going to be a less ambitious piece of military hardware. But when you've never made a war machine before, things can get kind of funny when you're like me, and you've also got an overactive imagination. This went from being the medium tank, to being the heavy tank, to now filling a role as the super heavy tank of Dythland. I know, really weird thing of me to do, but be honest with me. You're not going to leave this kind of force multiplication on the table, are you? Of course not. You've got settlements to defend, wars to wage, and the orcs and ogres aren't going to roll over just because you ask nicely. But in addition to the tanks, I've got a bonus unit waiting for you as well. Do not skip to the end of the video to find out what it is. I will know. So sit down and
Pay attention to me, boy!
because I'm about to tell you what you've got at your disposal and how to use it. And we're gonna start with the big guns.
Hanging out for a body shop at night.
Relax, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know. 105mm gun, 62 rounds. I'm telling you, it can be done. Because I said so. I think you underestimate just how many foot-pounds of torque a steam engine can put down. The weight is fine, so hush. Hey, Gunter, don't touch that. No, 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 no! Fine, it's too heavy. Gentlemen, I give you the Gottzorn, Dythland's standard super heavy tank, and the answer to the age-old question of how do you bring a city to its knees. For armaments, it's carrying a full front-facing Cinderbell howitzer main gun, aimed right at a target that's really regretting its life choices up to this point. Being direct fire now, it's much more accurate than it is when mounted on an oversized carriage, and fires a bit faster now that it doesn't have to wait for anybody but itself when it's reloaded. It also comes with a pair of Auto-Falcon coaxials that fire independently of the main gun, and are very good at convincing the enemy that coming any closer is a bad idea. And up top, the part that separates each variant from one another, the turret. This particular variant is fixed with a twin 24-pounder culverin configuration, firing at distant targets like a land-loving battleship. The Gottzorn also boasts an impressive 200 armor and a large health pool to boot, but it comes with the same quirk as the Firehulks. Just like them, if you play smart, this thing will stay at peak operational capacity and maintain perfect vigor. Play dumb with it, however, let it take too much damage, and it's going to be dead in the water, pretty much immobile and at the mercy of whatever is attacking it. So like I alluded to earlier, sieges are the best way to utilize this variant, essentially being a mobile fortification that can lay down long-range pain on the field, or the streets of a city. Anywhere you need to punch a hole through a wall, a gate, a barricade, the Gottzorn has got your back. With the Cinderbell main gun and the dual Auto-Falcons, anything standing in front of it is in big trouble. That said, here's what it needs to succeed. Number 1, awareness. The Gottzorn has a directional shield attribute, which gives it more missile resistance at the front, less at the sides, and pretty much none in the rear. Do your best to keep the enemy in front of you, and not let the tank get swarmed or flanked. Second, infantry support. Of course, it's a battlefield, anything can happen in the fog of war. That's why it would be prudent of you to back up the Gottzorn with some Dyth Guard or Firehulks. Anything to keep away whatever would distract this behemoth from doing its job. which is blasting enemies to pieces. It doesn't have any melee capability either, and it's way too slow to run anything over, even if the wheels are the size of the universe. If two 24-pounders isn't enough though, and you need to put more lead down range, I've got another variant that should do just the trick. I know how it looks. It's called a proof of concept. You know, the Wright brothers didn't get it right the first time either. Yeah, you wouldn't know who that is, huh? No matter. Well, I'm not done yet. Look, if you're so impatient, I'll demonstrate. All you do... not again. Alright, so you need a more general purpose variant that hangs on to its armor piercing capability, while also being able to deal with large numbers of infantry. Don't worry, you are not asking for too much. I've got just the thing. The twin nail gun variant of the Gottzorn, armed with a turret that's equipped with two side-by-side 12-pounder nail guns, everyone's favorite double-barreled cannon. That means, in addition to the Cinderbell cannon and the Auto Falcons, you've also got an extra 4 cannonballs flying straight at the enemy, making this variant excellent for general combat at long and medium ranges, and against any enemy, generally speaking. While it might not bear the long-range or anti-fortification abilities of the Culverin variant, the nail guns can still hold their own against almost anything, excelling at nothing in particular. In their prime range, however, they'll still decimate heavy or monstrous infantry, being capable of piercing armor as effectively as the standalone artillery unit can. A single volley from this baby can be enough to make a whole unit of Black Orcs turn tail, or reduce an ogre to bloody ribbons. Like I said though, the range is lower than the Culverins, and it loads just a bit faster, but not by much. Who needs it though when you've got 4 barrels of fun pointed at the enemy? And whatever they don't manage to chase off, the Auto Falcons can mop up easily. In a field battle, I'd consider putting these on your flanks, or just behind your front line, preferably on a hill. This way, they can absolutely destroy any ranged units that are giving your infantry a hard time. Archers and crossbowmen really don't stand a chance. It'll also keep them from getting bogged down in melee. The more shots the crew can get down range, the better. But, like any mosh pit of madness, you can't predict what's going to smash through your lines, or if your men will hold at all. I've got a suggestion for what to do when, not if, that happens. You turn up the heat.
Suspect is bleeding from multiple wounds. Protocol compliance verdict.
We'll be fine, as long as nobody rats us out to the RO. Right?
We are socio-stable at this location.
Now then, if we...
All units be advised, subject is now high speed.
If you thought Cinderwind was a war crime, boy do I got news for you. This is the Flamethrower Gottzorn, armed with a twin-barreled heavy flamethrower turret. Frankly, what is there to talk about? If you know at all what the Crocodile was, or have played Call of Duty World at War, you know what this is, you know what it does, and you know how sweet it's gonna be when you bust down the gates of a city with a main gun, and while the Auto Falcons are filling your enemies full of holes, those holes are also getting filled with burning liquid.
Phrasing?
It's got the shortest range of the other variants, as far as the turrets go, but up close, it'll make infantry do the Bernie dance before they collapse into heaps of charred flesh and bone. My previous advice for where to place the Gottzorn doesn't really apply to this variant. This one doesn't shoot cannonballs or bullets. It fires a twin stream of scorching hot fire. I'd recommend keeping it a little bit away from your troops, or maybe a lot. Fire is fire, and it doesn't really care who it sticks to and gives third-degree burns to. Somewhere on your flanks would be your best bet, ideally with the enemy engaging your infantry instead of the tank. At which point, you can wheel the Gottzorn into position and start laying down the hurt. You should probably start with whatever is shooting back though, archers and whatnot. I won't be held liable for whatever friendly fire you end up committing. Remember, you signed an NDA when you subbed to my mod, so if the UN comes knocking, tell them to get bent. Geneva? I hardly know her.
Yeah, that's why it's funny. That's the joke.
In a siege, this one is about as effective as the Culverin variant, but for different reasons. Instead of being able to batter down gates and destroy fortifications, the choke points and tight clusters of enemies make for excellent targets to use the Flamethrower on, reducing whole mobs to simmering puddles. I wouldn't count on it against larger units though. The flames don't really have the extra oomph to deal with high armor and high health. Lords and heroes are also a non-starter as well. Against anything small and numerous though, you're not going to have a threat on your hands for very long at all. That's all the variants of the Gottzorn I have, but guess what? It's time for the bonus unit. Introducing the 𝒉𝒂𝒍, a new weapon team unit built to take on priority targets coming your way. There's not many of them per unit, and they're not packing a lot of ammo either, but when utilized effectively, they have the potential to be your most consequential long-range fire support weapon. So you've heard of the FGM-148 Javelin, right? Or maybe you're a Helldivers 2 fan and like to run the spear. Well, simply put, Dythlin now has its own version of that, and it works like this. You pick the enemy you want vaporized, the rocket goes up, it hangs in the air for a bit as it acquires its target, and then it comes screaming in like an angry archangel before exploding on its mark. You'd be best off using these guys on priority targets like heavy infantry or ranged units. You can easily remove a unit of 𝒆𝒂𝒍s or ℉ executioners from the equation before they ever reach your infantry. The missiles are decent against buildings as well, able to take down towers pretty good, though walls and gates might be a harder sell. They're also effective against large, single-entity units like Hell Pit Abominations or Rotting Leviathans, with a decent amount of armor penetration to bring them down. What they are not reliable against is monstrous infantry or cavalry, or lords and heroes, unless they're large like Kolek. The 𝒉𝒂𝒍s favor slower moving or more conventional targets, things that can't outrun their imminent doom. Use them effectively, and you might end up wondering why you bother bringing artillery at all. That's all the new units I have to show you, but there's a couple changes and tweaks I've made that you should see. For one thing, Cinderwind has gotten a visual upgrade, looking more like how I envisioned it should. The projectiles actually having an explosion, with the living embers flying out and attacking enemies while they choke on ashes. Recruitment times for infantry, as well as costs, have been adjusted to be more forgiving. Most are a single turn, as well as cheaper to recruit and with a lower upkeep. For the Hellbores, the high explosive anti-large ammunition's damage against buildings has been doubled. It should now be much better against lighter fortifications like towers and barricades. The mountain guns have had a small reload time reduction, and are now able to be loaded and fired much faster, so you can get those volleys off more steadily. The Culverins have had their range raised from 425 to 450, to be on par with the vanilla great cannons. And lastly, all cannons now have grape shot ammunition, and are able to switch between them at will. So if you want to turn enemies into Swiss cheese, knock yourself out. Exactly like I expect you to knock the like button out of the park, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. If you want to do more than that, however, I do have a Patreon open. Members of every tier get access to beta versions of my mod, as well as exclusive sneak peeks of works in progress. The mod itself, as always, is completely free, and is available for download on the Steam Workshop. If you're not on Steam, there is a direct download link in the mod's description, with installation instructions included, telling you how to manually install it and activate it in your mod manager. A special thanks goes out to my patrons. Your support is a massive source of encouragement to keep creating and making my ideas into things you can use. Be sure to keep up with my future updates. Like I said, I want to make smaller and more frequent ones, and now that I figured out how war machines actually work, I've got the know-how I need to actually make the ideas I have. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. See you next time.